For the intro, but I usually just start having conversations. I haven't gotten used to uh what do they say, like pre-writing anything or pre-scripting anything.
Mhm.
We kind of just like get right into like what you do, how you got there, um
Mhm.
traumatic events. I know that's my anxiety laughing. But it's like people are like, "Whoa," I'm like, "Yeah, so what happened to you? How'd that happen?" They're like kind of caught off guard, so I kind of pre-warn like I don't
Yeah, we
know in
get
those
into it.
yeah, in those conversations when trauma comes up, people kind of like ignore that, like, "Oh, sorry that happened to you," or
Mhm.
I'm kind of like, "When, how, where," So
Mhm.
wherever you feel comfortable starting, and
Mhm.
you'll go from there, and I can edit
Okay.
anything else out.
Okay.
So, welcome to the Healing Homegirls podcast. I'm Sara Melcher. I'll edit that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here to talk about all the stuff.
Yeah, everything.
So you want me to just get into it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm nervous. I'm just as nervous as you. I'm like, I don't. Every time someone comes on, I'm just like, I'm super honored that they even chose to be here. So I'm just like,
Mm.
my ADHD is kind of like everyone for me. I'm starstruck because I'm like, little old me, you came on. So
Yeah, you're so cute.
yeah.
I love, no, I really like when I saw your message and I saw what you were about and I started listening to some of the episodes, it's right in alignment with my life. So I would say I'd started experience trauma when I was 5 years old. And actually through some deep spiritual healing, I found out it was even before that. I found out that I was, abused sexually before that and didn't even really know. But when I was 5 years old, my father was shot and killed. So I was that really started the what I call the chain reaction of events in my life. So this happened, obviously, I was 5 years old. I was a little girl, I was daddy's girl on top of that. So it was very traumatic, so traumatic. I didn't even go to the funeral. Like I still remember the pain of just crying and sobbing. It was just so horrible. And after that, my mother, my poor mom, she went through so much. She was obviously now a single mother, and like what the hell do I even do? So she packed us up in her hatchback Civic and drove to Boston. I was born in Augusta, Georgia, just for perspective. She drove to Boston, and we started living with my aunt in this like den, like it wasn't even a real room. And from there, just oh man, like just it just continued. Like so it was really like I would say a ripple effect of my mom's like her own experiences and trauma and then like what we experience as children, that's all we know. We're learning how to be humans. We're learning how to process emotions. We're learning how to live life from our people, our humans,
Yeah.
our mom and
Yeah.
dad. So if you're being raised by someone who has been experiencing trauma for her entire life and now just lost the love of her life and went into deep depression, struggled with alcoholism, she struggled with some like suicide. So that was the foundation that was created in my life. I just actually spoke about a few weeks ago how I grew up in chaos and I had to really later in life, of course, later in life, teach myself how to process this stuff.
Yeah.
But when you're in the mix of it, you're in chaos. Your caregiver only knows chaos. So you're just how do I explain it? You're just living chaotically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your
It's
emotions, your
normalized.
nervous
Yeah.
system, it's normalized exactly.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about like soothing the nervous system now. Like that wasn't even a thing. Like anxiety was my
Yeah.
baseline. Anxiety, sadness, heartbreak, well, that was my baseline. You know what I mean? I remember being a teen and I went through like really bad depression in middle school. And now being a mother, I think about it, I'm like, wow, kids can be so mean. I used to
No.
get bullied. I used to I used to get bullied. So I went through really bad depression. And I remember like I just stopped speaking to people. I was like, oh yeah, this is the solution. Just stop speaking and hide. And I would wear this black coat that like went down to my knees like every day. It didn't matter the
Oh.
temperature every day. And it was my way of hiding and protecting myself, right? It's a protective mechanism, like
Mhm.
just like, all right, you guys are gonna hurt me, I'm gonna hide.
Yeah.
That was all the way until like the end of high school. I think I finally started to really like break out of it and really kind of be like F them, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
started
yeah.
exercising, I started running, and I was like, oh, this feels really good. I was like, oh, like these are endorphins. This is what people are always talking about. Like I would feel like relaxed or like,
Yeah.
so I started to learn ways to manage the anxiety and stress that I felt within my body, right? So I started getting like really big into fitness. It became a huge part of my life, to be honest,
Mhm.
but in a way where remember my baseline is chaos, right? So I
Yeah.
became obsessive with it. And I would say I was doing it to fix my body or to fix myself, like versus like doing it because I really loved myself.
Mhm.
So this is just really just shows like the like how that foundation really follows you through your life, right? So like through that time, I also like because of my foundation, I was in a long-term relationship that was like really unhealthy, really verbally abusive. There were times like he would like, maybe put his hands on me, but he wouldn't go all the way. And I would be like,
Mhm.
yeah, do it. You know what I mean? Like we
Mhm.
like were like calling it in, like,
Mhm.
yeah, hit me. That was just like the toxicity. Oh man, I just keep thinking like, and that's all I knew. Like I think
Yeah.
it took like almost 10 years to realize like this isn't how love's supposed to be,
Yeah.
right? But if you grow up only seeing that way of love, you're like, wait, like
Yeah.
this
And I
is
and
normal.
see, I found that out in my marriage and how toxic I found out that I was the toxic one. Like, I would always blame him, like, "No, it's you're emotionally like, the stuff I was learning, but then as I learned, I was like, he was just trying to tell me how he felt, and I would just, like, literally throw a chair across the room, or, like, I was just
Mhm.
and I'm like, "Okay, this is toxic." Like you said, like, these generational patterns that we were taught and
Yeah,
that was normalized for us, like, I would just talk about trauma and, like everyone would be, like, cringe, like, on their face, you can see it because they had like, my husband had, like, a normal upbringing versus mine, and he's just like, "Your mom did what? You did
I
what to
know.
who?" That's when I was like, "Why would they question that? Like, isn't that life? Didn't you experience
Right.
that?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, you didn't experience the alcoholism, you experienced the
yeah,
abuse, like what the
yeah,
hell? Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so true. Like sometimes if I'm sharing my story, people will go, "Aw," and I'm like, "No, no, no. Like,
yeah,
no, don't aw me. I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
sharing
it's so all me,
experience."
yeah,
But like you said, if people aren't used to hearing that kind of thing, their automatic response is like, "Oh, I feel so bad for you."
yeah,
And at one point I did feel really bad for myself, of course, but like now I've gone through so much self-work and healing and
yeah, it takes a
evolving that
lot.
it's more like, wow, like those experiences led me to where I am.
Mhm.
Like the things that I'm able to do now in the community, leading events, speaking, helping women, coaching women, like that would never, I don't think I would have the power within me that I have or the wisdom. I have so much wisdom. Like
Yeah,
people can come to me with, alcoholic parents, abusive partners, single
yeah,
motherhood. Like, I've been a single
yeah,
mom for many years. I'm a mother of two teens. Like there's so many things that I've experienced, sexual abuse, like I'm a nurse, so there's that I've
yeah,
experienced that just like build this well of knowledge and wisdom, and I think that that's just so freaking beautiful.
it is.
Not that I would wish like what I experienced on someone, but you have to at some point, I believe, like we can really like turn that into like some
Our
power, right?
power, yeah, and I
Um,
think we were meant to like, I tell everyone and I can say this now without, like, crying or laughing or, like, my anxiety coming up, but I was meant to go through all that. I was meant to be molested. I was meant to be abused. I was meant to have the parents that I had because, like you said, the wisdom and then when healers like us get together, that's that spiritual collective wisdom. That's why I started this because 'cause I'm like, these conversations will help someone that
mhm.
that have more trauma, less trauma, wherever they are in the scale, like, together, we've been through it all, and it will
Exactly.
help. It helps so many women. How did you get into, feeling like you needed to help other women? Like,
Mm.
that being your passion?
Yeah, so that, oh my goodness. So, like I said, with my son's father, like we had this on and off again for actually almost 15 years. Like, I don't know, I just kept
Well,
I
yeah.
remember, so there's many reasons that we tried again, but the first like blunt of our relationship was 10 years. And we started very young. And to be honest, we fell madly in love. For 6 years, we had a beautiful relationship. And
Aw.
then 4 years was all very toxic. But it was like wounded and wounded, you know what I mean? Wounded people trying to love each other, but not even knowing how to. Like just they looking at his background, looking at my background, like we had no tools. I was just like talking about
Yeah.
this before this podcast. We just didn't have the tools, we didn't have the resources, and we blamed each other a lot.
That trauma
So
bond, people I was just talking
yeah,
about that too, like, people don't even know when they get into the trauma bond and how
yes.
long,
Oh
and it
my
goes for that keeps people stagnant, and I feel like that is, like, blocking our blessings, blocking our
yes.
shift in
Oh
life, like, we
girl.
go through these shifts, and if you're there like, I literally told my therapist before she kicked me out of therapy because she's like, "You just need to let the world experience you." I was like, "Okay." And I found so many amazing women like you,
Yeah.
and they're all, like, life coaches, healers, like, all these spiritual I've been loving that, and she's like, "That's what you need." But before she kicked me out of therapy, she was just saying, where was I going with this? Sorry, my ADHD came up.
We were
She
talking about trauma bonding.
yeah, she was saying, how I was telling her how I felt like sad. I'm going through another shift. December 1st, I turned 30. And so,
Mm.
yeah, and I started this healing journey at 28. And she was saying that our brains don't stop developing till 28. So you kind of notice those traumas around that age, that 27,
Mm.
28. You're like, something's wrong here if you're trying to break that. And I told her, I was like,
Yeah.
that's how long I felt sad my whole since I was young
Yeah.
and the trauma started at 28, that's when I noticed I was, like, pretty much sad all day. In, like, moments of joy, like, I wasn't just in this depression, but
Yeah.
I was sad all day with just moments of joy, and I told her I want to have joy all day with just moments of
Yeah.
sadness because that's
Yes.
normal. But yeah, my whole life, I was sad up until the last 2 years. I've been experiencing and grounding and, like, really seeing joy, my children being joy, not just, "Oh, I'm home all day." It's like, what could I do with that time? With being a stay-at-home mom, and, like, sometimes I see, like, your videos, you go out and, like, just stretch and, like, just you're just there,
Mhm.
you're just present, and so that's why I
You
reached out too, because I w
romanticize your life.
yes, and so I reached out because I saw that your, like, Instagram, and I was like and I right when that happened, I went to the shift where we moved into this house, and we had a yard, so I went, took my yoga mat, went outside, and was like, "Why was I not appreciating this space?" Like,
Mm.
that's all you need, time and space, and not
Yes.
all you need, but with the tools that we have all what we need. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. I'm just like, oh, woe is me, and I really, because
Mm.
I stopped therapy and I was like, what do I do now? And I saw that and I
Mm.
went right outside and stretched and it felt just amazing. And I've been doing it. I
Right.
put the space heater out there in the little space and still just, I don't care how cold it is. I still just
I
stretch
love it.
outside. Yeah.
I love it. That's something that's been a shift in my life this last year as well, is just like really like enjoying the space that I'm in, even if it's not where I want to be yet or
Yeah.
whatever it is, like just really romanticizing that. I love that. But that's so powerful because what I was gonna share with you is that at I think it was 29 for me. So 28, 27, 28, I started to feel really uncomfortable in the relationship. Okay,
Mhm.
this is when things were starting to really come to light. And I will say I started learning about self-development. I started like network marketing and I was doing like a health and wellness company. So I had like a group of empowering women around me for the first time in my life. Like
Yeah.
imagine growing up someone that's bullied. Like I was like, I have friends. Like I
Yeah.
got my girls now. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And there's something so healing about that I don't think we talk about enough. Like especially if you are someone that's experienced this kind of stuff we have, like to have, that group of women that really like hold you up is so beautiful. So I got into that and I started learning about personal development, started learning about leadership. I started really like finding my power. And he didn't like that. He didn't like that at all.
Yes.
And he wasn't very supportive of it. So whatever, there was a lot more toxicity building up,
Yeah, when one
infidelity.
person's healing and the other one's not. I've had some
Exactly,
clients that
exactly.
were in that stage too in life where their significant other, and it's like, I don't even know what healing looks like for a man because women, we tap into that like quick, not quick, but when we see it and we start it, it happens
Yes.
rapidly. Like I said, this happened
Yes.
2 years ago. And then I literally, this was Dear Mama, Hi Daddy, because I was like, my trauma's surrounded by my parents. So I'm just using it as talk therapy. But when I
Yeah.
literally started praying and put like intention in my journaling, I literally was like,
Mhm.
no, female friends. I was like, I need homegirls. And then I was like, I'm healing. I need healing homegirls. And so it's like
Yes.
literally like came full circle. And he kind of, he had a healthy upbringing. So all he could say is like, you needed that. You know? I
Like,
was like,
thank you,
dang,
healing. Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah. Like, did I?
But
Like,
shout
shoot,
out
you
to
didn't
him
say
for
nothing.
loving you through that, though.
Yeah. I'm
Shout
sorry.
out to him for loving you through that, because that's not,
Yeah.
not many men can do that.
Not at
That was
all.
something, or they can to a limit.
Yeah. I mean, my
So
limit, it was
those
like
are like,
danger. It got violent to where he's like,
mm,
I'm not like, he's never even, the worst thing my husband has ever called me when, and this is when I got violent. Like, I literally, and I'll probably edit this out, but I grabbed a knife. No, I won't edit it out because it's in one of my podcasts. I had to share it. Because
mhm,
it just, we get that way. I didn't know my trauma was that deep to where violence was
mhm,
normalized. Like, my mom did the thing, hit me back, hit me. And then she would always tell me, if you say that, expect to get hit back. Like, she was really like, and
mhm.
my mother was a Crip in California. So, and so I saw this destructive behavior and mimicked it. And my husband, coming
Yeah.
from a married couple that's been married, they're going on 50 years, and
Mhm.
always lived in different houses, always grew up in the church, had that foundation. He sat me
Oh, wow.
down. Yeah, I like pulled it and he's like, okay, I don't want, our kids need us. And he like literally sat me down, and the worst thing he called me, he said, "You heifer."
It's
I
so
was like
cute.
I was like, "You're not gonna," like, I was expecting, like, bit, like, I really wanted to get him mad and nothing was working, like, in my mind. That's how
Mhm,
toxic I was. I was like, "Why aren't you as mad as me?" So I decided to
mhm,
get that violent to where it was dangerous, and he's like, "Put that
mhm.
down," and he called me a heifer, and girl, that broke my heart. I was like, "You never got that." That was a hint of his toxicity. My heart was broken. I was like, "He did not just call me that, my name."
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so that's why I
Wow.
realized, I was like, if that's his extent of anger, I can learn to control mine. It's how
Oh,
reactive I was being, because I was like, there's
yeah,
if he showed me a different way to be angry. Like, if that's how he can
exactly.
get angry, I can definitely lower that was
Lower
just,
the
it was
bar there.
wild to look back on that I even did that.
Yeah, that was
It's
something I had
cringe.
to heal. Yeah, I had to heal through the reactivity like so deeply. Like it's
Yeah,
crazy. So
yeah.
crazy. And it was something that did cause a lot of problems with us as well. But what happened was like at 29, I think it was, he
Mhm,
did get physical. Like he like finally all the rage built up. And oh my gosh, I remember he said, I'll be right back. We're in the middle of an argument. And
mhm.
he did leave. He used to leave a lot. Like if we were arguing, he would just leave. And I'd be like, all right, whatever. He's running away. And I would be there just like screaming by myself because
Mhm.
that's like what it was, right?
And then
So
getting
he
yourself
left.
hyped up so when he does come back, I've been there.
Yeah, like, hey, man, come
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Yep.
So he had left with so my son was actually outside playing. And
Mhm,
this is like the other part of the healing. Like my son's experienced some of this toxicity because it
mhm.
was just so bad.
Yeah.
He took my son to his aunt's house or something like that, and he came back, and I was like, oh my God, like what's gonna happen? Like he's never done something like this before. Like I thought the kids were just gonna go like play or whatever.
Yeah.
He came in and he just like he attacked me. He just like attacked me, and like I still remember like his hands on my neck, like he was literally trying to kill me. He's like, oh, you think you're gonna leave me? And that was the end of it. Like
Yeah.
he had after that, like I tried to run away and like that we lived in a house with like the whole family. But
Mhm.
people, these are Hispanic people, they mind their business. They're not fucking with you. Like you're
Yeah.
yelling and screaming again, like that's your problem.
Mhm.
And I was like banging on people's door, nobody would answer. His mother lived
Mhm.
downstairs, she wouldn't answer. I was like, help, help, help. Nobody would answer. So then he comes and drags me back upstairs, locks me in the room, takes my phone. Mind you, my son's still at his aunt's house and I was just like, this is it. Like, this is not life. This is not love. This
Yeah.
is not healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm trying so hard to build a better life, and it's not going to happen like this. So he calmed down, of course, and he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I was like, bro, like, we're done. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
that can't take it away. Yeah, it's like once you cross did you start your healing at 20 or you said 27, 28, and then 29 that
like
happened?
27, 28 was more like personal development, learning
Did
how to, to really find my power. And then after this, so I packed a U-Haul. I was like, we're done. I packed a
do you
U-Haul,
think he
moved in
got
with my
jealous?
family. Hmm?
I wanted to ask, do you think that he got jealous? And I have my journal, so because my ADHD, I don't want to keep interrupting. I'm so sorry, but
Oh, no
um,
worries. Yeah, yeah,
you're
absolutely.
I
He
so I don't
hated.
forget them. Yeah, so I always keep a little. This is my like journal every time. I'm not on my phone or anything.
No
But
worries. No, yeah, he hated that I was learning more about like living a better life and changing my
yeah,
mindset
and
and
wanted you to be
being a
there with
better
him.
woman.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to
Yeah,
understand that more and like I wanted people that hear this to hear the domestic violence because
yeah.
when you are in a situation like the one you were in, people like either like my husband like he was in the battle of trying to he was like I want to leave but my kids I care about my boys but
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
then there's like the toxicity like you said you if you're in a trauma bond and it starts getting to the point it's violent like you said you got a U-Haul and left and that's my advice don't ever if you're physically unsafe leave because it just doesn't get better from
Yeah.
that you need the
I
separation.
was Exactly. I was scared. I'm not gonna lie. Like even after that, like he would like I found out he would like had my phone, like the GPS. He was tracking my phone. He was tracking my son's phone. I found this was like a long journey, but
Yeah.
I had moved home, and I remember that like being in the room there. I was in my aunt's basement, and I had started to kind of hear about like life coaching, spiritual coaching, and one of my best friends who I was already like really involved with the network marketing. She was also learning about spiritual life coaching, and she actually started her own business. And she was like, I'm starting this mastermind of like helping women like learn the tools to heal. And I remember just laying on the bed, like I had finally hit the rock bottom. Or
Mhm.
like people still saw me as like Miss Motivation because they had no idea. But internally, I was numb. I was emotionally numb. Like I was so unhealthy inside. My mindset, I was constantly like talking myself down, beating myself up, blaming myself. Like here we are, I was almost 30, have to start my life again.
Mhm.
Like I had everything with him. Like, so I was really starting from the rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is it. Like things have to change. And I remember just like going on her website and just buying the course, like whatever it costs, like whatever. I was like, it's time to heal. And I dove in head first. Like I
Mhm.
dove into everything she taught. I did. I was like, I'm in. Like I don't care. Affirmations, let's do it. Like I don't even know what this is. Let me
Yeah.
write. I'm doing it. The journaling, I don't even know what
Yeah.
to write, but let me just write whatever, like, oh man. And it was like, that was 20, I don't even remember. Gosh, I can't remember now, but it was like right before COVID, like a few years before COVID. And then 2020 is when I was like, I'm gonna start helping women, and I launched my business.
Wow.
Because like once you like go from like toxic, unhealthy, numb, and you
Yeah.
start to feel the hope that, oh my God,
Mhm.
there's hope to feel more love, more joy, more change, more
Yeah.
internal power and
Yeah.
balance
It
and
gets you
oh my gosh,
excited. It's just like
compassion.
it's like all this is here and you can't even see it. Like it's just it's here. It's what
Hmm.
we're calling on. Like I was just listening to Erica she was on Erica Badu was on a podcast and she was saying that. She's like, it's like a magnet. Like you just she says
Yeah.
it's so normal now, but like she used to get like really excited, but she's just like, you just and she's like, I'm older now and I've been in this healing journey a long time, but like experience that. You can experience joy if you just call on joy. And hearing those, you think it's so like simple, but like it's hard work. It really
Yes.
is. That's why we create these
Intentional.
courses and the intentions behind it. It's hard work. And like you said, like we've had to go through that numbness and that stillness and that that bottom darkness and sit there. Like God literally was like, you have to sit in this. And because a lot of Christians say, like, give it to God. And that was my religion. So I had a lot of restrictions of what I was taught versus just spiritually
Yes.
moving. And so when I
Yeah.
lost those restrictions, even my husband growing up in the church, he's like, Don't go to church, just get a study Bible. Just sit there and cross reference and see. So
Mhm.
I started at the fruits of the spirit because they were all those things joy, peace, love, like all these things.
Mhm.
And so I started to study the spirits in the Bible, just the spirits and
Yes.
wisdom. Wisdom is referred to as her. all through the
Mm,
Bible. Her,
mhm.
she, and I was like, that's why we tap into that better than
Yeah.
most men, I would say.
Mhm.
But it was such a enlightening thing that because he just I thought he would be against something like that, but he really encouraged and he's like, "No, this you need to yeah, you go and do
You
this." And
do
so
what works
that
for you.
yeah, seeing
And
that was just
I've been
there.
baptized as Christian as well, you know, just on this journey of like seeing what is going to be most healing and
Yeah.
feel for me. And but I agree that like I was told, oh, just give it to God. And I'm like, but
What
what
are we
else?
giving?
What else
Yeah.
is what am I giving? I and one thing I learned on my journey is like we're co-creators, right? Like I know
Mhm.
everybody
Yeah.
says like oh no, just listen to God. I'm like, but I feel like we're co-creators with God. Like
Yeah.
I pray to him and then I call in on things, but I also am here doing my work, like my life's
Yeah.
work, being in purpose, loving people more, having compassion, forgiving that man
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
so angry and hurt that tried to kill me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
That's the long
being able to really
suffering. That's in the
yes.
fruits of the spirit, the long suffering, the meekness, all that I had to like learn in my marriage. And he's like, you'll understand it more, like the meekness, the long, all of that. And like you said, the spirit, it's our advocate. It literally says that throughout the Bible. Meditation, Jesus went meditation all through. If you just
Yes.
follow those things, even if you don't read the like for people that listen to this who aren't Christian or religious or it just, but the spirit is a real thing. The
Yeah.
spirit within us is a real thing, and to be spirit led, it
Yeah.
you have to fight that flesh first, and that's hard.
Yeah.
That is hard.
Yeah. I say it takes daily work. You know, when women come to
Mhm,
me, they feel like there's no hope. And I share with them, it is daily intentional work,
mhm,
but it's the work that works. Like and I really feel like you have to go through the process. Like you have to bring that awareness to like what it is that I went through. How
mhm,
did it make me feel? All right, now what do I need to do to work through that? Like there's a process. There's no like I won't say like I like in 2020 I was healed and that's it. Like I felt more empowered and more aware of myself, but the work continues. We're in 2023. The work
yeah,
continues because
yeah,
there's layers and layers of your spirit, of your mind, of your body, you know, and more things happen, you know, after that, even after
yeah,
healing so much, I still attracted men with narcissistic tendencies, toxic habits, you know. And I will say now, like finally, like at 36, like I'm able to like have like such boundaries and really hold the frequency of like what I desire and what I deserve and really like say no when it doesn't feel good, you know what I mean? But I would just want the woman to hear that like it does take time and it does take that intentional daily work.
yeah.
And I feel like you don't know until you're in the situation of like, you know, I always say like you want to know if you're healing, either get into a relationship or go spend time with your family. Okay, like the
That's some good
reactions.
advice. I've never heard that one. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
who triggers you the most?
Right,
Who triggers you the
yeah.
most? Who brings up the, you know, when you're in a relationship, it's like the and your family is like so intimate
Mhm,
and people are comfortable with you and they
mhm.
say things that are going to bring things to the surface, right? So
Yeah,
I always say like that's where the real like test is like how do
yeah.
you feel when they say that to you? Do you still feel super triggered or you're like, all right, I see
Mm,
you, cool shade, all right, moving
yeah.
on. You know, like so there's
Yeah.
it takes
That's
time.
Yeah, that's crazy you said that because I kept saying I kinda had a conversation like my mother, I'm in no contact with her because it makes me feel safer,
Mm,
but I allowed myself to be angry first, and because I was just like, "That's my mom," you know, like, "No, if you only get one mom, you keep hearing those things," but I felt physically unsafe at the same sense, and I'm just like, I felt stagnant in what she wanted me to keep quiet and do, and,
mm,
she messaged me, she, like, audioed and I thought to myself I didn't express this to her, but I thought to myself, like, "How would I feel if I were around her today after 4 years?" And what
mm,
things were triggering me, and I wrote those things, and it does, like alcohol and I did, I stopped drinking just to see if it was a vice, or was I drinking socially or drinking just to be just celebratory, not celebratory,
mm.
to celebrate, but,
Yeah.
I so I stopped and I realized I was like, "Oh, okay, no, I'm fine," like, so I started drinking wine and, like, every now and then, um But then I fell in love with the kombucha. I just put it in my wine glass because I'm like, oh,
Yeah, me
try a little
too.
bit. Yeah, I'm like that tastes the same. Like, dang.
I do that too.
Yeah, and just walk around. I make it really pretty. I make all my cocktail with kombucha. Like that's enough for me, really, honestly. Because
Yeah,
I that's what I realized is I did it socially. So then that wasn't a trigger for me anymore. That if I saw her drink, but then I'm just like, no, if like I said, even in any relationship, not just female and male, but like if one person is
mhm,
healing and the other is not, that can just be triggering in itself. And she's not. So just for me to be in that space where I can
right,
go in depth with myself and in healing and in just conversation, and we can't have
yeah,
those conversations, that is what bothers me. Do you have any advice for like when you are around um like family, when you're around just triggering people, like what's your advice
yeah,
then, like in that moment, like what do you do? Do should so I'm just like
yeah,
I'm gonna use you for a second. Like what
yeah,
would you do like for me to prepare to get in that space? I feel like I am healed enough that I could be around her, but I feel that I would just walk away because there's nothing
yeah. Well,
else.
there, yeah. So before I'm gonna even be, so just something not, I actually had an experience where I was at an event for one of my friends who was launching a book,
Mm,
and we both know someone that I dated that our relationship was like, it was weird, like it wasn't healthy, but we're both in this field, so we would like say the things like, oh, you're triggering me, but like we still like weren't very healthy. And we had like a bad breakup, and I'm sitting there like all excited about the event, and he walks in, and this is what I mean by you don't know how you're going to react until you do.
wow.
And he walked in and I had a whole body reaction. I was like and I just started like immediately I felt it through my whole body. So just so one thing I do first of all is I pay attention to what do I feel in my body. So
Mm,
I started to feel anxiety and what I would say energy in my heart chakra.
mhm.
So I kind of subtly start to just tap here, just tap where I'm feeling the energy.
Yeah.
And then I breathe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I just take those deep breaths to just kind of calm my nervous system. And then I try to get myself centered. So for that person, I didn't have to interact directly. So at the end of it, I just said, oh, hi, hope you're well, this, that, and the other. But I had already moved through the physical and emotional response. So if we're like going into a family experience, like a family's event, to be honest, I would do the same thing. I would start with the deep breathing and really trying to ground myself as much as I can. And to be honest, people already know me in real life that if I start breathing, it's because I'm trying to regulate myself.
Yeah, so they kind of get a yeah, like
So you'll see
you
me
see
do
me over
this,
here breathing.
like
Yeah,
I'll just be breathing.
yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it depends on how bad it is, right? So if it's someone that, created life-changing trauma,
Mm,
to be honest, I'm probably going to create a boundary and not be in their space.
yeah,
If it's someone that just like likes to talk trash and trigger you, whatever, on purpose,
yeah.
I would probably like look at them and just kind of realize that that's where they're at
Mm,
and redirect or move on from the conversation. So there's one thing. So just for like, because Thanksgiving's coming up, right? So
yeah.
if you have like that one auntie that's like always saying something crazy, or one cousin that's always saying something crazy, I want you to go in and just really remembering this is where they're at.
Mm,
This is like, can I love them where they're at?
mm,
If not, then let's create a boundary and protect our energy. Like go in that energetic bubble
mm.
and keep that space. So maybe hang out with so and so that you really do get along with and feel joy and laugh with, right? Versus the comments, which I feel like in holiday events it's kind of hard to avoid,
Yeah, and
right?
like families, like especially like within like our culture,
Yeah,
that's like their way of just like sometimes really innocently joking. Some do be like they know what they're doing, but some like I noticed were like just taught that and like taught that like especially like with women like grandmothers. And my grandmother doesn't do this or anything, but just what I've been hearing, not from you, but just friends and stuff, that
hmm,
like there is like a little snippet of like I don't know another word but jealousy. You know that
yeah,
I think, and my grandma does always say the youth is wasted on the young. And I always think
Mm,
that it is our youth that kinda gets them to say, like, "I'll be doing this, I'll be" but we're looking at them like, "You didn't do none of that. You would now, but you didn't do none
right,
of that." And that,
right,
like you said,
and
with the holidays, that's important to understand is, like you said, like, redirect the conversation
yeah,
and or leave that space if and because the holidays are coming up, I do wanna share this because I've the last lady that was on my, podcast, the last woman, if again, physically unsafe or there is and you have children or if there's someone that, uh, you know was sexually assaulting people and molesting people in your
yes,
family, that person's not safe to have around your kids. If you know that, it is your
no,
responsibility to not go around them, and I'm just saying that on here because I'm gonna release this one before Thanksgiving just because 'cause we're talking about the actually because I didn't even think about the
right,
tapping, like, you are, like, correct like, absolutely 100,000% correct. I and, like, you know the tools, but sometimes you aren't you have to be reminded, you know? And that's a good
yeah,
reminder is tapping. That has helped me through the whole and I stopped it for some reason. It's like you learn new
so
tools and you
powerful.
go, "Yeah." And so you have sometimes have to like God I feel God puts me in a space where sometimes he puts me like backward. Like there's levels and sometimes you have to go to 1,
Yes.
5 and yeah. And sorry, I'm kind of veering off, but
I love that. No, that's awesome. Definitely like reminding yourself of the tools. So that's what I was gonna say. Like if you have a routine, a grounding routine, or get some like, praying, meditating, centering, it doesn't have to be long, but I usually will do something like that before I'm gonna be with any group of people. Like I just like if you're someone that's experienced a lot of trauma and like anxiety has been your baseline, going into any group or any family event can be triggering, period.
yep.
So really like finding the resources, the tools that work for you to really get yourself grounded and ready to interact with people. You know, can you enter that space like grounded and leading so like just like we already know there's like you can probably point out the people that are going to probably say something, right?
Yeah.
So I usually kind of like envision them and like can I send them love and forgiveness and compassion now before it even happens?
Mm,
Can I forgive them ahead of time? Can
yeah.
I go in and with can I go in so grounded and in my power that their little comments don't even make me waver? Their comments don't even penetrate who I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, you and your little business. Oh, yes, it's beautiful. Thank you. I'm helping women heal all over the country.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah, that
Mhm.
little business is beautiful. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Can you go in, oh, you and your crystals? Yeah, my crystals help me feel energetically healthy and
Yeah.
they I love them. They help me during Reiki. Like, thank you. Yes, I love them. Yo, you and your journals. Yes,
Yeah,
I
if
love
you
to
ever
write in
wanna
my
learn,
journals.
here you can go on my website and schedule, like, I would be
Exactly.
yeah. I
Exactly. Like
love
and
that.
just being so I've been talking about this a lot on Instagram, just being so in tune with yourself and so confident in who you are, right? And the healing that you've done, the growing that you've done, whatever it is, if that's where you are. If not, like that's okay. There's so many ways to start. But just like just going in with love, I think it period. With the exception of obviously like the safety, like that's a whole different ball game. But I'm referring more to like the comments that I already know I'm gonna hear. You know what I
The
mean? And that
surface
people
level traumas that
yeah,
people kinda get
exactly.
out yeah, like, they're just
Exactly.
yeah, that's the surface
And
level.
just understanding that that's their foundation, right? Like we said,
Yeah.
like we had a foundation too before we learned to create it, how to create a new one. Like so, my family also like they, what's the word? I feel like they use sarcasm like as their outlet. You know what I mean? Sarcasm, snitty comments, gossip as their outlet. So you know, like it's already expected. Like there's no getting around it. So
Yeah.
that's why I like being who I am, like, okay, that's not really like what I'm into, but I'm going in with love and maybe I don't participate in that and I participate in something else. Can I help clean up? Can I, you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah, you need help in the kitchen, and I always do
I'll
that
be
and then
over
just start
here.
eating. Yeah, we start eating like, "Yeah, so" the person always cooking is, like, most of the times the humble one because 'cause they're doing that. That's so
Right.
funny. I had another
Fun.
and so sorry, I'm going I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Write your notes, I get it.
The when how did you go back to relive the sexual assault before 5 years old?
Hmm. So that was during I've done many deep spiritual practices, and one of them
Yeah.
is for shamanic healing, where like you literally get your soul parts brought back to you.
Mhm.
And that's when I found out so after my father, my mom's best, it was a family friend that was doing it. He was actually molesting multiple of us in rotation, disgusting.
Yeah.
Um, I found out, I found out, I knew what he was doing, but I was so young, I didn't know it was
You didn't
something
know what
bad.
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know it was bad until my mother caught him. My mother caught him and
Mm,
literally almost killed him. And
yeah.
I can't remember if I was like 6 or something like that. I was like 5 or 6. It was after my dad had passed. And but when during my healing, I found out that I was groomed at 3 years old.
Mm,
So this was probably going on for like a good 3, 4 years before my mom like packed this all up and moved. And it's just like, oh, it was I think that was really part of me wanting to hide too, growing up. Like, like I felt really uncomfortable with men. I still feel uncomfortable with older men. Like, like it's hard for me to look at older men, even in my family, and not think that they would do something. You know what I mean? I have a
yeah,
little I'm very protective of her.
yeah.
Um,
I'm like that even
like
just
I
out if I see an older man with like a younger girl that doesn't look like his, like,
yeah,
Do you know this man?" If she looks uncomfortable, because I saw so many of like people catching people, and there was like this girl, this like even 16, like 16-year-olds, yeah, they may think they're
yeah,
grown, but I look at the 16-year-old me and relive that, and it's like, oh, I didn't know anything. I had to go back and forgive her for the things that she was
yep,
doing, because after the sexual assault, I got this hypersexuality that was labeled as fast or promiscuous, or
yep,
and I just so there's like two spectrums. Like, you can go into like hiding your body and feeling like insecure, and then there's the other one where like you're quote unquote fast or promiscuous. No, you're just
hmm,
in all spectrum. Your hypersexuality will make you do either give you a
yeah,
lot of anxiety to hide, or a lot of just trauma and dissociation that you don't
yep.
have boundaries around saying no, and
Yep,
that's important.
absolutely. I feel like I went from hiding and not wanting anyone to see me to the hyper, like I shifted to that hypersexuality like as a teen. Like in my older teen years, like I had sex before I should have. I definitely had sex early. And when I think back to it, like I didn't really want to.
Yeah, me too.
Like
Yeah,
I
I'm like,
kind of felt like that was like how for many years I saw sex as a way for men to love me or men to give me attention.
mm, mm,
Like even like my first boyfriend that I did let have sex with me, like I really don't think I really wanted to. I was like, oh,
yeah,
this is how I get him to like me. This is how I get him to love me. And that was a pattern for many years until like I really started to heal that area of my life. And I was like, wait a minute, like you have to have boundaries. You didn't even want to do that, which is creating an imbalance within you,
yeah.
So now like I'm single, so like, but I'm also celibate because I it's like a new level of boundaries, like and
Like, you gotta do
my
some work
body.
to get to this.
Oh, this is the
Yeah.
now we've done so much healing, so
Yeah,
much
you
healing.
gotta
It's
yeah,
a
you gotta come
privilege.
correct. Yeah. The next
I
man
was just
is
on a
the last
podcast last
man.
week and yeah, I was on a podcast last week and they were like, oh, you'd rather, have sex than like use it, whatever. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like when you get to a certain level, like there's this like this is high level healing and
Yeah,
protection
yeah,
of that energy exchange. Like I don't want to trauma bond with you.
yeah.
Okay, that's a different level of who I am. Like before that was exciting, the bad boy was exciting. Oh yeah, chase me. Oh yeah, be outside.
Mhm.
Like we have to admit like there's a level of it that we enjoy when
Yeah,
you're in that space. Like oh I love like yeah, call me 20 times. Let's play
yeah.
the game. You know what I mean? But now it's like I've gotten to such a level of like
Were you calling
my
me 20 times? What's your trauma?
yeah,
Why you wanna
who
bond
are you?
so
Who
quickly?
sent
Yeah.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how
no,
I
no,
love it. Why you
no.
wanna bond so quickly?
Like,
Like, no,
oh
you're
my
not doing
God.
anything else with your time. Yeah, that's what I noticed. Like, what like with certain people that come and do the meditation with me, they kind of talk before the meditations, because I just started the practice. So I'm new into this. You started 2020. What are we in 23? I'm like,
Mhm.
so I just started this literally like March, like through prayer. Like God's like, you just need to start
Mhm.
meditating with people. Only you have this voice, all this, like just
Yes.
empowering myself where I'm like, I can do, because I'm like, there's so many of us. That's what was discouraging me, that imposter syndrome coming up.
Doesn't
And I'm like,
matter.
no, we need more of us. Like the more I get into this, I'm like, no, we need one on this side, this corner. That's why I can't wait. So this grows, because I can't wait to have all the women that have been on here to do. I just want to do one big retreat and like be in the place where I'm just like, no, you just gotta get your hotel. Like I'm calling on to
Mhm.
that space, because I'm like,
Yes.
everyone needs to meet each other that's been on here. It would just be
Mhm.
such a healing experience
Mhm.
that's gonna be out of this world, that I have to record. Like, sorry, I'm veering off into the
So
vision, but
beautiful. I love that vision. Oh, that's so incredible. I agree. And when you start to feel like there's so many healers, just look at all the bad that's happening in the world.
yeah.
Okay, look at all the people that are leading with trauma and anger and hate,
Yeah.
and then on another light, like the people that don't have vision. Like you have a strong, beautiful vision there. Like that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, and I keep telling women all the time, like, hold on to your vision because not everyone has vision. Not everyone has a goal or passion or has tapped into. I think they do, but they haven't tapped into it, or maybe they don't believe in themselves enough to do it. So something I've been really holding on to for myself is holding on to the courage that you have to start healing, to
Mm.
start learning more about yourself, to start implementing these tools into your life and saying no and having the boundaries and speaking your truth. Because I was just talking to a client about the other day, like when you start actually doing these things in your life and people are like, who are you?
Yes,
You
I love with
know?
the new version, and it's like you can create these layers, like saying yes to these experiences, but just knowing to create boundaries with who you say yes to, and
Yes.
that's that to make that experience just yours, and I love that about this experience too, and just like you said, like when we start healing, people think like, how can you make that, like, because it is a daily thing, but how can you make it like a full-time thing? And that's why we create these courses, and we live that life, because it is a daily thing as healers, and we manifest it, that like, how do you
Yeah.
live off of just doing that? Yeah, because you can. It is possible to do those
Mhm.
things. Like, I get so inspired when I see pages like yours. I'm like, she's just like living in her truth. She's just daily healing. Like, who wouldn't want that? Who
Yes.
wouldn't want to just wake up and take your time to, like, even today, let's wake up, and us being here. I had time to go make my
Mhm.
coffee. I was just dragging my with my little slippers. Like, that's such a blessing, a privilege
Yeah.
to unlock those certain, I don't know the word, just, I guess, capabilities to just, like, move through your
Mhm.
day slowly. That
Yes.
time moves so fast when you're in that survival mode, and that
Yes.
survival mechanism that we learned from our trauma bonds, and just trauma, and just the first thing we were taught was seeing, especially if you like you said, like, your mom being a single mom, like my mom was, like, they worked hard and skipped over the emotions of us, because they
Yep.
wanted to do the security of financial security,
Yes.
and that gets you stuck when you just think
Yep.
about, "How am I gonna pay for it? How am I?" If you just work on you, things will come from that passion,
Yep.
I promise, and that's scary. That's scary to think, like, "You gonna get paid from just doing meditations all day?" I sure do.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But it's different. So people are always afraid of different, but it's
Mm,
what's changing the world. So, I mean, if there wouldn't be, someone said to me the other day, like, "Oh, healing is a trend now," and I'm like, I'd rather that be a trend than
right,
I'm like, so it's
right,
okay if trauma bonding's a trend, but it's not okay if healing's a trend. Like, let's
right,
talk about it.
yeah.
Um, So I think it's really freaking beautiful and amazing to keep sharing, spreading the word and creating new pathways of, ways to make money and ways to help others. Like I think that's freaking amazing. And I mean, I'm here doing it too. Like,
Yeah.
so
I felt like, that fear of starting to charge. But I
Mhm.
heard my therapist, like, the last session we had, and she's like, "That's amazing, the meditation thing." And she said, "You need that energetic," she called it energetic exchange, because that's what
Mhm.
you need those things. So
That's
this
what I call it too. I
really?
love it.
Yeah, I was like, where did but I love that word, and actually I never heard it, like, put together. I've heard energetic exchange, but,
Yeah.
like, put together, I was like, that is you do need those things because it's,
Yes.
again, our self-worth that we discovered. It took a lot of
Yeah.
self-discovery to understand that, yeah, that is how the world operates, and you do need that, and you should
Yeah.
welcome that, but yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when we're doing this kind of work, like meditating, healing sessions, coaching, you're pouring a lot out. Even on social media, Instagram, you're pouring a lot out. So it's important like to have that exchange, like so that it is an even exchange. Like for example, if like even in a job, if you're like doing two people's work, but you're making X amount of dollars and it's not adding up, you begin to get burnt out.
Mm.
It's the same way like when I just actually posted my Instagram 2 days ago, like tips for new healers and coaches, you know, it's an energy exchange to charge for your powerful services because as you like say for example, you start just doing meditations for free because you want to help people,
I did
you're
at
gonna
first.
become you're
That's the
yeah,
thing,
but
I
if
did
you do that long term, you get exhausted and
yeah,
burnt out.
I
So
I
you
did the first
need
week.
that energy exchange.
Yeah. I did the first week, and then I started to post chart like, "Oh, I'm charging now," and then I actually, like, lost people, but I was
Hmm.
praying and it was like, "Well, it's good, it's just it's weeding out who doesn't
Yeah,
want to invest in their healing, because
yeah,
you have to invest in certain even just getting out and getting a journal or, like, you invest in some way, put
mhm,
aside and invest in some way, even if it's time, you're investing time to go out
yep,
and breathe in nature, walk. That's everything now is that energetic exchange. So,
yep,
yeah,
exactly.
I wanted to ask as well, did you ever report the man, or no? Did you
No,
you just got healing through just the self-discovery of what happened? And you said that
yeah.
you found out that it happened before through you said a word. What the healing that you did to go backward to
Oh, it's
soul
called
healing.
Shamanic Healing. I actually have a session after this. I'm really excited.
Oh, okay.
It's called Shamanic Healing, and it's actually a journey of it's a shamanic healer that brings you through the journey. They go from 0 to whatever age you are, and they go through like the different stages. Like I believe it's like 0 to 7, and then like I forgot 7 to 12, and then 12 to your adulthood. And they go through and like see where you're missing pieces of yourself.
Mm.
And this gets really spiritual. So like if you're really woo-woo, you'll understand. If you're not, you're not. I get it. But so she calls on your ancestors, your guardian angels. For example, my mom and dad are always present during the they're both passed. They're usually present during this session. And they help you bring back your soul parts.
Mm.
So when we experience trauma, a really deep pain, abuse, we lose pieces of ourselves. Like we literally lose pieces of our soul. So when we do this kind of spiritual healing, we're like having those pieces brought back to us, and trying to like bring ourselves back to be feeling whole,
Mhm.
which is also a journey.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why I do this. I do that healing modality every few years, not all the time. It's every few years. So the last time I did it was like after that traumatic. I actually had another situation with my son's father, and I was like, I need more healing because
Yeah.
like we literally like during the session we literally had to cut the cord between us, and there's an
Mm.
energetic cord that is created when you spend so many years and have trauma bonded so deeply with someone. And it's funny because during the session there was actually resistance on my end to cut the cord,
Mm.
which is like so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
'cause you were like, "I don't
I
like
didn't
that."
want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so interesting. And once we did after that session, he started calling and texting me, and I was reaching out to my healer. I'm like, why is he calling and texting me? We cut the cord. And she was like, he probably feels it that he's
Oh,
losing
that's
you.
deep.
It's
That's
deep.
deep.
Yeah, he will feel it that he's losing you. Like I don't know if you guys have ever had like an ex that you finally let go and he's like, I miss you so much, and he's
Yeah, you always get that yeah.
outside with the boombox, even though he's
Yeah.
toxic as hell, like that you know, you gotta just, that's when you gotta really like stay true to what it is. You know, one thing that keeps me on the path that I'm on now is like, you know, even when like I'm leaving the gym and this cute boy is out, cute man is outside, he's like, oh, like this happened to me last week. He's like, oh, let me get your number. And like he shook my hand but tried to pull me. And I immediately was like, F boy vibes, no thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, he was like, oh, let me get your number. And I was like, no, thank you. I was like, have a good night. And I walked away. And my friend was like, oh, what are you going to be single forever? And I was like, no, but you have to start making decisions that are in alignment with the life that you desire and that you actually are, you're working to create. You know what I mean? Not to say that he actually was that, but the energy, my body said no.
Yeah.
My
Listen
body
to it.
said no.
Yeah.
So I
Self-aware.
need you guys to listen more to yourself. Like
Yeah.
trust that intuitive pull. My body said no. So I had to verbally say no and create that boundary.
I love that. Yes. That,
Hmm.
yeah, that's important. Um, Especially when you start listening to your body outside of the trauma because we dissociate and go inward a lot. So we don't listen to our body. Like that's those boundaries around just
Yeah.
laying there and not saying like no or stop or you just do things. So that pull, I love that story. Thank you.
Yeah, of
Um
course.
and oh, we're at 10 to 5. Okay. And so thank you for today. I this was amazing. I really can't have I'm usually like, "Oh," but I'm still just like shooketh. Like thank you. This is gonna help. This is gonna help so many ways. It's helped me. So that's how I'm like, just thank you. I honor your time. I respect your time.
Of course.
Thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom on my podcast. I almost want to cry. Um, can you share your social medias and how
Mm,
people can contact you?
yeah.
And I'll also put them in the show notes, but just anything that you have going, any courses that women
Mhm.
would want to join and
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much. So thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we got to talk and share so much for the audience. So I live on Instagram. I am Sara Melcher. I'm also on TikTok, Sara Melcher. But if you want to message me on Instagram, I always respond to my DMs, and I love to chat if you hear something that resonates with you. And then to tap in with me, so I have the Evolution of Her Woman Circle, which is a healing circle that I host every month. And it's on a community platform where I post journals, journal prompts, affirmations, meditations, and then we meet once a month for an actual live meditation and live coaching, which is kind of like similar to what we just did.
yes, she
So
coached me
yeah,
through
so
this
if
day.
any of that resonates with you, I'd love to have you on the Woman Circle. You can definitely message me on Instagram or I can send the link to Jasmine. But yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. If anything resonates and you want to talk more, slide in my messages for sure.
Yeah, and she responds fast, guys. Like she literally like that's how she got on there. She's like,
Always
"Hey,
on there
hi."
somehow.
She's so friendly. I was like, "Oh my gosh, she responded." Like so that's exciting. I definitely I'm definitely going to go on there. I want to join some of your healing circles and learn some more from you.
Of course.
Just even like on the business side, like I am just trying to get in a place and learn. I got on to Coursera to do the digital marketing part, so I'm still kind of taking those classes to get more consistent. Like you, that's the thing that is actually that I see with you, and that's helping is your consistency with
Thank you for
even
that.
you're welcome. Even the you have the group message on the is it the broad I don't know the name
Oh,
of
the
on the
broadcast.
yeah
Yeah. Oh, you're right
I
there. Oh,
love those.
good.
Oh girl, I that's my more that's
Why
my
don't you have
affirmation.
one? Do you have one?
I don't know how to start one. That's like, I
Oh, I
don't
can
know.
show you. I'll send you a DM. I'll show you because
Thank
you should
you, because I
definitely have
love
one.
those
Yeah.
are my daily and then, like, I do stuff on my Facebook, and everybody's like, "Oh, can you send this date?" And I'm like, "How do you do that?" Like, so
Yeah.
your consistency with that, it's helping me daily. Like, please just don't ever stop being you, and I'm just so, like, I can't wait to meet you in person and hang out with you, honestly. Like, I'm glad
So awesome. Thank
that we
you.
met. You're
Yay.
welcome. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for coming on the Healing Homegirls, and we'll talk after this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
But I
you.